President Zelensky is crying out like a baby, accusing Russia to have used intercontinental ballistic missile. Now, this comes following an attack that occurred today, Thursday morning, 21st November 2024. Zelensky says that Russia actually used an intercontinental ballistic missile with multiple heads. Now, he said this is the first time in the history of the world that an intercontinental ballistic missile is being used, and that is being used by Russia. Russia has fired back. Russia has called Zelensky that is a crying baby, and that Russia has not even started. That Russia just used the Russia just used the ballistic missile, not intercontinental ballistic missile. There is a difference between intercontinental ballistic missile and ballistic missile. Ballistic missile is the one that can go a particular range. Intercontinental ballistic missile is the one that can live from one continent to another. So Russia says Zelensky should stop crying, that only ballistic missile has been used. That if they dare Russia, that Russia would erase. I want you to watch this video.
Breaking overnight, Russia launched an attack on the eastern Ukrainian city of Dnipro, sparking claims that the Kremlin used an intercontinental ballistic missile, or what's known as an ICBM, which has significantly longer range capabilities than other missiles and can deliver nuclear weapons. But this morning, Western officials said that the weapon was a ballistic missile, but not an ICBM. Ukrainian President Zelensky responding to the strike, saying his crazy neighbor is acting out of fear. CNN chief international security correspondent Nick Payton-Walsh joining us now from, I think, inside a shelter in Kyiv. The danger of this real. Lots of developments this morning. What are you learning about all of this?
Yeah, Sarah, we've come back out now. The sirens have finished, but Kiev city is significantly more anxious after the US Embassy made a snap closure yesterday, citing the threat of an aerial assault. They're open again today, but this apparent ICBM assault, President Volodymyr Zelensky saying that the missile they saw had the characteristics, the altitude, the speed of an intercontinental ballistic missile. It seems to have hit Dnipro, a major industrial city. Suggestions an industrial plant was hit there, and the images that have emerged from there show extraordinarily multiple different projectiles coming down from the sky, it seems, from one particular point. Some experts suggesting that consistent with a more complex type of ballistic missile. Whatever it turns out the terminology you want to use for what this was, whether it's based on its capability or how far it could fly, it's clear this is a new weapon, and it's clear that Russia has wanted to see how that would make Ukrainians and the West feel. It's all part of an escalatory ladder we've seen over the past 3 or 4 days. Begun on Sunday when President Joe Biden told the Ukrainians they could finally have permission to fire US-supplied ATACMS missiles longer range into Russia to hit targets there. We knew there would be a Moscow response. It seems like this use of a new weapon, be it moderate ballistic range or intercontinental, is designed to show that there are things in Russia's arsenal it can reach to which can still terrify Ukrainians. As you said there, these normally, you might think, would carry a nuclear payload. No suggestion of that at all today, but I think it's about reminding people of that subtext of non-conventional weapons, whilst also showing that Russia can deliver massive payloads of explosive, much shorter delivery times, and hit targets across Ukraine in a matter of minutes. That's why I think there's heightened anxiety here in Kiev. We saw ourselves in the recent trip to a bomb shelter. The US Embassy, maybe they knew something about this when they closed yesterday. We simply don't know. Other NATO members joined them in their snap closures. They're open again today, but I think we wake this morning to a Ukraine very nervous about what else may be in Russia's arsenal, and a fast-paced series of events here. Not only have we seen a European power, Germany, ring the Kremlin head, Vladimir Putin, to talk diplomacy last week. We've had this Biden development with the ATACMS, and just now the British Ministry of Defence suggesting they have not seen the front lines as unstable since the first days of the war. A very rare, stark assessment from a Western ally of how badly, frankly, Ukraine's doing on the front. Back to you.
It is terrifying, those pictures of those missiles coming down so fast and so many. The fury that we're seeing there and the fear growing by the hour. Thank you so much, Nick Payton-Walsh, for being there. Please make sure you and your crew are as safe as possible. Kate.
Yeah, thank you. Joining us right now, CNN anchor and chief national security analyst, Jim Sciutto. Jim, let's talk first about everything that NPW was just talking about. I mean, what if this was an ICBM, and regardless of it, just the direction this is all headed, I mean, what do you think of this? What could be a new move by Russia in could be a first in this 33-month war?
Well, first on what it is, if Western officials are saying it was not an ICBM, I mean, the U.S. has capability to identify any rocket or missile launch around the globe the moment it happens. We have satellites at geostationary orbit, many thousands of miles up, that are America's nuclear early warning system, and they're designed to do this so that they could spot them. They know what their trajectory is, their speed, size, payload, etc. So if the U.S. is not seeing this as an ICBM, I think we should believe that. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not a significant attack, and Russia has repeatedly done this, right? Introduced new weapons, hypersonics, etc., glide bombs, drones, etc., to scare the heck out of Ukraine. The other piece I would add is, if it is a longer range missile, what's significant about that beyond Ukraine, right, is that a Russian ICBM launch, given its range and size, would threaten not just Ukraine, it would potentially threaten Europe or the U.S., right, depending on where it's going. In other words, U.S. Alarm bells would be going off. They say, we got to watch this one to make sure it's not coming towards us. So it's significant on a number of fronts.
Also happening, and you've been doing some new reporting on this, is why I want to get to it, is kind of a debate over, was it an accident or was it sabotage? Right. And this has to do with 2 undersea internet cables in the Baltic Sea. They were cut Sunday. One cable between Lithuania and Sweden, one cable between Finland and Germany. Germany's defense minister said that his quote was, "Nobody believes that these cables were accidentally severed." But you have some new reporting on this as well, and there seems to be still an open question, accident versus sabotage?
So let's go back a little bit. A couple months ago, I had a story out about how closely the U.S. was watching Russia for exactly this threat. Russia has a highly secretive military unit designed expressly to monitor, map, survey underwater cables, and possibly attack them. They have surface ships, they have submarines, they have naval drones. And in September, I had a story that the U.S. believed Russia's calculus on ordering such an attack on undersea cables had changed. Changed meaning they were more likely to order such an attack. And the U.S. had noticed increased activity by this highly secretive unit in this space, right? Watching these cables and hovering above them. So that's the threat environment. So then this happens. So I go to my sources and I say, what did you see there? And what they say, at this point, the U.S. intelligence assessment is that these particular, I don't want to call them strikes, right? But cable cutting was the result. What was the result?